very pleased to have with us on the show right now Breitbart legal columnist Ken Klukowski. And Ken, how you doing, sir?
Cam, it's always great to be with you. Wonderful to be with you in person.
Yeah, it's great to have you here, and welcome to the NRA annual meetings. By the way, have you received an all-in button yet?
I have not. I'm glad to have it. Like you, this is my 8th NRA annual meeting. So
really?
It is. It's great to be here, and this is just the atmosphere here, as you were saying earlier, is just electric.
Yeah.
People get it. They understand that. I think it was Newt Gingrich who said, from a historian's perspective, PhD, where he said this could be the most important presidential election since 1860, which was, of course, the year that the whole country split into civil war, and that 2012 could be such a watershed event in terms of directing the destiny of this nation. So certainly so many people here clearly grasp that truth and believe it.
Absolutely. And, I got to tell you, I mean, it's just such a cool place to hang out. I mean, like, where else? I'll tell you this. I got in the elevator to go down and come across the street to here, and I step into the elevator and I look over, and Oliver North and I are sharing an elevator together. And I said, "Colonel, how you doing, sir?" And he said, "I'm good, I'm good." And I said, "So, were you traveling from somewhere?" He said, "Oh, 19 hours from Somalia." He's like, "I don't even know what." I don't even know what time zone I'm in. I said, well, Eastern Central. After Somalia, there's really not that much difference there. But that's one of the great things about this. And then I'm walking down the street, and I saw, a couple of my gun blogging friends said hello, saw a couple of the NRA state liaisons. I mean, it is, and I know it sounds trite and it sounds contrived, but this really is like the biggest family reunion in the world, because you meet so many, not just friends. I mean, they're your fellow NRA family.
It really is, and it's because it's a family that's not biological. It is philosophical. It's people who love this country, who love our Constitution, who love our freedoms, especially the Second Amendment right to keep and bear arms. And it's a family that we've all chosen, to love and to be a part of. And you're absolutely right. It's just like a big family with all the connotations that has. You've got the older brothers and sisters, and you've got the ones who are newer and learning their way. And you're right, a big family, 70,000 happy brothers and sisters and cousins hanging out in St. Louis.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we're actually going to see a lot of families here as well. There was something that I noticed in Pittsburgh. I mean, more families, I think, in Pittsburgh than I had seen in years past. Not that they're rare by any stretch of the imagination, but there were a lot of strollers. There were a lot of 3 and 4 and 5-year-olds.
Absolutely right. The NRA is a family-friendly institution. I just it's my youngest child is 5 months old, and I just bought his life membership today. So
congratulations!
Thank you very much. His name is Remington, appropriate for an NRA life member, and so no, the NRA is a family-friendly institution. Certainly, the right to keep and bear arms. It isn't just about individuals, but it's about families. It's about fathers being able to protect their family and their household. It's about mothers who often, just statistically speaking, a mother at home. Statistically, an invader is more likely to be a male. He's more likely to be taller, bigger, heavier, physically stronger. And the Second Amendment is what empowers that mother to defend herself and her children.
Absolutely. And, speaking of that, I don't want to interrupt our conversation, but Aaron in St. Louis had asked a question earlier when Destiny from the Fit of Destiny blog was on, and I'm sorry, Aaron, that I didn't see your talk back until afterwards, but Aaron had asked, can you discuss a recommended 45 ACP compact that's appropriate for women to carry concealed? You feel free to pose that question to Destiny. What I'm going to tell you, Aaron, is that there are a lot of different options out there for you, and really the best thing, I think, is if you're a male or a female, if you're a new gun owner, go and look and find something that you like. Hold it in your hand. I can't tell you, Aaron, what gun is going to be best for you any more than you could tell me what gun is going to be best for me. I will tell you that you have a lot of options. If you're looking to carry something in 45 ACP in a compact carry gun, whether you want to go with something from Springfield, whether you want to go with there are just so many different options out there. But go to your local gun store and just start holding them. Start feeling what feels good. I mean,
Well, that's exactly right. I mean, everyone's got their own preference. I mean, for me, it's a 40 caliber 6-hour P239. But I mean, you'll find as many gun owners as you can talk to. You will find that many different preferences on exactly what sort of firearm they like to
Absolutely.
have.
I mean, most, like you said, everybody's got their favorite. You could go with a Taurus, you could go with a car, you could go with a Springfield, you could go with and then you could go with some of the smaller companies as well. So, most of the manufacturers have something out there, and there may be, Aaron, there may be like a bewildering variety of choices for you, but, take your time. Try them out as best you can, and I think you'll find something that will fit your purposes. All right, so getting back to not just what we were talking about before, Ken, about the family atmosphere here. You mentioned moms and dads, and the Obama administration has proclaimed that there's a conservative war on women. I've been thinking about this. Now, look, I don't believe that the right to keep and bear arms is a conservative right. And we've talked about this before. It's not a liberal right. It's not a conservative right. It's an American right.
Right.
But I think that we can say that the Obama administration and the anti-gunners in Congress have been waging a war on women in terms of them being able to exercise their rights of self-defense. They don't want women to have firearms any more than they want you and I to have firearms. They are out there trying to demonize gun ownership and gun owners now. They want to make it culturally unacceptable to be a gun owner.
Well, that's exactly right, and of course, and we saw that with Eric Holder the last time I was on your show. Of course, Breitbart managed to expose the video of Eric Holder when he was a federal prosecutor, talking about and using the word brainwash, saying we need to brainwash the kids every day that having a gun is not cool, that being around a gun is not acceptable, that we need to make people try and hide the way they hide smoking these days increasingly. And that was the comparison that the Attorney General of the United States made. Now, what you're saying with that is it's to scare moms about, oh no, guns. If there's a gun sitting there, it might just jump up off the table and shoot someone.
Right.
So, if you care about your kid's safety, you sure don't want anything around there. Of course, the reality is that in a household where the guns are properly stored, properly stowed, where the mom and the dad understand how to handle firearms safely, that's the home where the children are safer, because so many of even though shooting incidents are rare, accidental discharges with firearms involving children are thankfully rare, so many of them that occur, they don't come with children in households where the adults understand firearms.
Right.
What they happen is when little Billy goes over to little Johnny's house, and little Billy, there are no guns in his house. He doesn't know about them. They're mystical to him. They're unknown. They're mysterious. But he does see on TV that all of these, action things happen with people that he thinks of as his action heroes, and they're out there using a gun.
Right.
So when he sees a gun, he doesn't know not to touch it. He doesn't understand the 4 basic rules that every child in Eddie Eagle gun safety program learns. If you see a gun, stop. Don't touch. Leave the area and tell an adult. Our kids come to understand those things. If we can reach that message to all the children, that's when they would come to understand that it's not cool to play with a gun. It's cool not to touch a gun without an adult.
Right.
And if we can do that and teach mothers that is how you keep your children safe from gun violence, that's how we can restore so much the culture for people to understand that we don't need brainwashing, in the words of the U.S. Attorney General.
Right.
Thank you for being so serious about your oath to uphold the Constitution, and but rather that it's about teaching how to cherish and responsibly understand all of our constitutional rights.
Absolutely. And, again, I think that there's that mindset out there from the anti-gunners that, we'll just never be responsible enough. Even if you're a grown person, a grown adult, you'll never be responsible enough to be a gun owner. I think that sells people short, quite frankly. And I think people are getting tired of being told that they can't do this, that they can't handle this. There are 80 to 90 million American gun owners in this country. The vast, vast, vast majority of them are responsible, safe gun owners who you never, ever hear about because they're law-abiding citizens who go about their daily lives.
And it's one of the things that separates us from the old world that we broke away from. In the Federalist Papers, as James Madison, who was the principal drafter of the U.S. Constitution and the Bill of Rights, as he explained, as one of the three authors of the Federalist Papers to persuade the states to ratify the proposed Constitution, he mentioned that one of the distinctive elements about the American constitutional system would be that unlike European governments, where the governments fear to trust their citizens with arms, that here it would be regarded as a bulwark of liberty. Here it would be a way for people to defend themselves as individuals and against families, against both private and public violence. So that was understood from the time of our framing to be not just a distinctive American right, but that any mentality to the contrary was a paternalistic, aristocratic mentality from Europe, of the wise, enlightened ruling class not trusting the unwashed masses to be able to take care of themselves.
Yeah, and I got to say, I mean, we could expand that, obviously, outside of the fight over the right to keep and bear arms, to the notion of this, we need the experts. We need the authorities. We're not smart enough. We're bitter clingers. Jay Carney said this last week, or said something in the same vein, when he was talking about trying to spin Barack Obama's comment about it being unprecedented for the Supreme Court to overturn a law that had been passed by Congress.
Yes, it only happens on average every 16 months. It is so unprecedented that it only happens roughly once a year.
Oh, but Ken, President Obama, according to Jay Carney, was speaking in his law professor voice.
Yes, he was dumbing it down for the unwashed masses.
It was shorthand, exactly. He was dumbing it down for the unwashed masses because we couldn't understand if the president said something like, well, I think it is exceedingly rare for the Supreme Court to overturn an economic law based on Commerce Clause jurisprudence.
Right, and so in that regard, and in fact,
he's false. I mean, it would be wrong anyway.
Absolutely, he's wrong because that's exactly what the court did in the year 2000 in U.S. v. Morrison. They did it in the Gun-Free School Zones Act in U.S. v. Lopez in 1995. Now, before that, you have to go back a ways. Carter versus Carter Cole, 1936. Alton Railroad Company, 1935. I mean, I can keep going down the list. But, the last time I checked, the word unprecedented means without precedent, meaning you can go back more than 200 years to the founding of this country, and you will never see it. Let me give you an example of something that is unprecedented. For the President of the United States to say, even though there's a senator down there on the Senate floor, and they say they're not in recess, I am going to declare that they're in recess, and so under the Constitution, I can now make recess appointments without Senate confirmation. That is unprecedented. To pass a law commanding you as a private citizen how to spend your own money, that you must go out and buy a health care policy, or a hamburger, or broccoli, or a gym membership, for them to presume to say that the power to regulate interstate commerce under Article 1 of the Constitution includes the power to command you as a human being to get into commerce so that they can control you. That is unprecedented. So yes, this president gives us a lot of things that do show what the definition of unprecedented is, but it has nothing to do with what this president has said, which unfortunately is so often the pattern that we have seen from President Barack Obama.
Absolutely, which is why the NRA's message this year is all in 2012, because a second term for Barack Obama. I thought this was actually fascinating. I don't even know if you know this, Ken. This was just a little blip of a story I saw yesterday. Do you remember when Obama was meeting with Medvedev and the hot mic was open? He said, I'll have more flexibility after the election, right? And then we had to walk that back. We had to spin that.
I didn't mean what I just said.
Right. And the president,
who are you going to believe, my press statement or your lying ears that heard what I said when I didn't know the mic was on?
And so the president, he even tried to joke about it, which I thought was I felt uncomfortable. I felt like
there's a bizarre arrogance to joking about that.
Yeah. So apparently on Obama's re-election website, there's a video with Tatiana Ali, who you may remember as the little tyke on Fresh Prince of Bel-Air way back when. And she's talking about President Obama, if he's re-elected, he doesn't have to run for re-election again. So he doesn't have to worry about, trying to appease the voters, and he can he can, in essence, be more flexible. Like they really do want people to understand that. I think they want their supporters to understand. They want their base, whether it's labor, whether it's I guess now they're trying to claim every woman as their base.
Evidently.
But they want them to understand that come a second term, things are going to be different. We're not going to have to worry about political capital. We're not going to have to worry about appeasing the voters. Now, I'll be honest with you. If that really is their line of thinking, that scares me to death, because you're always thinking about the next election. President Obama, even in a second term, should be thinking about the midterm elections.
Right.
But that's not the message that he's telling his base right now.
It's not, and I'll have to tell you, as you look time and time again through historical sources, through legal sources, no matter how you come at it, they understood that the hallmark of the success long-term of a democratic republic is that the elected officials...
Small d democratic republic.
That's correct. Small d, small r, democratic republic, would be that a republic is a representative government, but that it's not hereditary republicanism, such as the case in the Roman Senate. You had senators there, and they represented the families, etc. But they held that title. They didn't have to be elected to it. The idea behind a democratic republic is that we entrust these people with power, real power, and this is the world's lone superpower. There's an awful lot of power going on, in the U.S. government. That the check on that is that they have to answer to the voters. They always have to be concerned about, will the people approve of this? For them to so hold out, boy, he only has to stand before the voters once more. Then 4 years of all the powers of the presidency, which he seems to think are a whole lot broader than what I've always thought, reading the U.S. Constitution, in just celebrating the fact that we don't have to care what the American people think anymore. I'm not even sure how worried they are about the midterm elections, because I have to tell you, unless they take back both houses of Congress, this president's radical left legislative agenda, whether it's Obamacare or cap and trade, those things aren't happening. I'm concerned, from what we've seen, that he'll try and do it all through executive order, that he'll try and just claim regulatory power. If that happens, the courts will be of absolutely paramount importance, as we're seeing with Obamacare, because with each imperial overreach, each power grab of what the Constitution forbids this president to do, it'll be parties withstanding taking them to court and having the courts shut down and nullify those things. It really highlights the importance of the courts with this election, the role that the courts have to preserve our constitutional liberties when politicians, any politician, but especially this president, chooses to just run roughshod over the limits that the Constitution places on him.
Absolutely. Hey, Ken, as always, sir, great talking to you. Glad we could see you on set tonight. We'll let you get back to enjoying your Thursday evening, and look forward to seeing you again soon.
Thank you, Cam.